Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Salaar Ali, and I suppose any introduction post that is unnecessary because what really matters is what I am here to talk about. And what I am here to talk about is social diversity in Pakistan. Granted, it's not a topic with a lot of fancy words in the title, a lot of fancy phrasing, important jargon, or altogether eye catching. But the fact remains that this is something that I hold very close to my heart, is something that I feel is inherently important, and is something that I've been brought up to realize is important. Now, whenever I talk about the fact that the discourse regarding social diversity in Pakistan is important, I'm always asked, how so? We came together as a nation under one banner of nationalism, that was religion. We've always prided ourselves in our culture, in our rich history, in our various ethnicities. How then is there a lack of social diversity in Pakistan? For me, it all centers back to one point. That one point being social inclusivity, which for me always defines what social diversity really is. Now, whilst talking about the official side of things, I cannot speak about whether there is social inclusivity officially. Because, firstly, as a person who's not even 18 yet, I don't understand how the official side of things work. I don't understand the way of the world. I don't understand how things go. And to be very honest, I am rather unqualified to talk about the official dealings of the state. However, what I feel that I am qualified to talk about is what happens on a grassroots level. What happens around me and what always goes around in discourse, especially in the younger generation of which I am a part of. And that for me is where the problem really stems from. The discourse that this nation is having, the interactions that our youth has. Now, we always put it aside as fun banter whenever we are poking jokes on someone on the basis of their ethnicity, on the basis of their religion or their social standing or any identity that derives them. However, the fact remains that that is where the grassroots level of the problem begins. Because that in itself breeds divide, and that in itself breeds frustration for some, and on the other hand, it breeds paranoia for some. And when that happens, that automatically translates into a lot of frustration for a specific entity and a lot of paranoia for the other. And those two feelings are then preyed upon by demagogues and people looking to exploit those very heavily charged emotions to make their own ends meet. We have fallen prey to that over decades, over various eras, and 70 years post-partition, we'd hope that we'd have realized how to not fall prey to that. However, we've only grown more gullible. Now, we have a problem at hand. We know how it affects us. We know how it hinders our process. Because the fact remains, whenever a question about social inclusivity or social diversity is brought up, it's always shut down by saying, oh, we have to be grateful for what we have. We came together as a nation under this specific aura of nationalism, under this specific banner, and we have to be grateful for what we have as a nation. And granted, that is a very, very commendable thing, to come together as a nation under a specific banner, to be united that wholeheartedly under one banner. However, the problem arises when we overlook the various diverse entities that exist under that banner. Because people do not only extract their identity from that one specific banner or that one specific identity. No, there are sub-identities, there are subcultures, there are ethnicities, there is religion, there's classes that shape the way that people define themselves. And when we disregard that, that in itself breeds feelings that are readily preyed upon. And disregarding that, granted, I don't understand how we could combat that on an official level, but what we can do in our very limited capacity is something that I'd like to share with all of you today, because I believe that it is important to raise a solution, and if not, at least ask for one when you raise a problem that affects you so heavily. For me, the solution lies in healthy discourse. because that is the one commendable thing of our generation. We can engage in tolerable, patient discourse with each other, and we have that intellectual capacity and that patience to listen each other out, to understand what hurts another person, to understand how their sentiments might be hurt, and then mold our way of thinking and our way of speaking into something that is much more easily understandable and something that's not altogether offensive. There's something that needs to be done post that. Inculcating those changes into our own being is something that's missing because we understand how it affects people, but actively inculcating that is what breeds empathy. And for me, empathy is where the solution really lies at. Understanding what you'd feel if you were in the shoes of another person, understanding how empathy breeds compassion and kindness. And with compassion and kindness, I suppose we could go a long way. I sit here as someone who belongs from the province is always easily considered privileged. However, I've always been told time and time again that it's not the same for everyone. That even whilst living in one nation, it's always different for people who live in a same neighborhood, a same city, a same province, or in the same country. And I suppose addressing our privilege, keeping that in check, and then using that to make sure that you bring about a positive change in society, whether it be about social diversity or whether it be about any other topic that you feel very close to, any other problem that you feel very close to, is where the solution always lies at. And I suppose that is the solution that I'd like to present today. That is a resolution that I'd like to present today. And I would also like to point out how inherently grateful I am for being given this opportunity to speak about something that I feel so strongly about and speak about something that needs to be addressed. And whilst talking about patience, if you made it till here, listening to me almost rant about what I feel so strongly about, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to tell you that I am grateful for getting a chunk of your time to listen to what I feel is important, and hopefully what in the future you'll feel is important, necessary, and pretty much vital. With that said, I won't take any more of your time, and thank you so much for listening.